So a lot of right-wingers have been getting sick from COVID-19. Weird. Yeah, it's almost as if like the side that doesn't believe in vaccinations from COVID-19 is getting COVID-19. Oh, super weird, right? What a coincidence. And since they're getting sick, they've decided to turn to ivermectin as either a cure or as a preventative measure. Ivermectin is not an antiviral, it is an antiparasitic used as not only livestock dewormer, but also there are human uses. Basically, once again, treating things like, I think it was river blindness in humans, as well as lice and things like that. And so now conservatives are using this as not only a cure against COVID-19, but also as a preventative measure. Even though, of course, we do have a vaccine that is both safe and effective. In fact, over 2 billion people have been served by the vaccine with no mass deaths attributable to that vaccine, no weird mutations, no, iron skin, or I should say magnetic skin or anything like that. Yes, there's a handful of breakthrough cases, but overall, the science seems pretty settled on the effectiveness of vaccines, and it has been for a very long time. Vaccines are just good. They work. And by the way, among those who are now being hospitalized for COVID-19, more than 97% of them are unvaccinated, just to kind of show you how well they actually work. And among those who died of the disease, 99% are unvaccinated. And so, once again, the proof's right there in the data. It's right in front of our eyes. Right there. It's right there. It's right there. All right, so now, look, prevention is just better. It's better for you, and it's actually cheaper as well for all involved than it is to treat COVID-19 after you've already contracted it and have ended up in the hospital. Because it turns out that actually costs money here in America, where we have a system that crushes us every time we want to go to the doctor or the hospital. And so now, you want to talk about costs. Like I said, the vaccine's free for all Americans, but those miracle cures that people keep touting online, well, those are going to cost you. But as I said before, the jury's in already. And yet, here comes Joe Rogan. So now, Joe Rogan last week put up an Instagram video. I'm going to show you part of that, where he says, like, hey, I got COVID. And then he's going to tell you how he was fighting it.
So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything. And I also got an NAD drip and a vitamin drip, and I did that 3 days in a row. And so here we are on Wednesday, and I feel great. I really only had one bad day. Sunday sucked, but Monday was better. Tuesday felt better than Monday, and today I feel good. I actually feel pretty fucking good.
All right, so Joe Rogan, he's feeling better. He's feeling better, right? Okay, well, Joe Rogan, he mentions that he threw pretty much everything at it, right? Well, Joe Rogan's a millionaire, so he can do that. He's wealthy, good for him, right? I don't have any issue with him being rich. He puts out a fairly entertaining show. I'm just saying that he can afford any remedy that he wants, whether it be doctor approved or not. You think like a doctor is going to turn down Joe Rogan when he asks for ivermectin? No, you're kidding me, right? Of course not. So now I wish that every American had healthcare, that they could, had free healthcare, and could be able to get whatever treatment is best for them. Okay, without cost. Insulin, for example. That would be great. Wonderful. So now, the point is, though, that not everybody can sit there and afford to throw everything, even stuff that doesn't work, like you're throwing crap at the wall to see what sticks. And that's essentially what he did with COVID-19. He got it. He panicked. He went, oh my God. I hear all this different stuff. Everybody's telling me all this stuff works. Let's just use it all. Throw it all in. Throw it all in. We'll see what works. And so, again, I guess you could see the result. He feels better. I'm glad he recovered. Wonderful, right? Now the problem here is that he is crediting to this to ivermectin specifically. You know, because of course he did. In fact, when he was on with his guest Tom Segura, he talked about how it was the ivermectin that worked.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
I don't know. Do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor. It's an American company.
Mm-hmm.
They won the Nobel Prize in 2015 for use in human beings.
Yeah.
And CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Yeah. What? So
They must know that that's a lie.
So who said, or did you already want ivermectin? Like,
Well, I had this guy on, Dr. Pierre Corey, and he is, what is the organization he's from? Frontline COVID Critical Care Workers. He's a well-established doctors, treated thousands of people with COVID, and they've, early on in the pandemic, they found some good efficacy with ivermectin.
No, they didn't. Again, there's no evidence here that ivermectin did anything to actually help. Again, he tossed everything he could at it. The monoclonal antibody treatment, for example, hey, that's one of the things that has been shown to be effective in patients with high risk of progression of the virus. At best, you can't really say the ivermectin did a whole lot. Why? Because, look, ivermectin, for one, is not an antiviral, okay? It's specifically made to fight parasites. Again, that's why in human use, it goes after parasites, worms. That's why it's also not only horse dewormer, but also dewormer for your dog, stuff like that. That's what it does. And understandably, the reason they won the Nobel Prize for this is because of that usage as an anti-parasitic. That has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not it can be effective against COVID-19. Okay? Now, what's also interesting about this is that, look, anything can kill viruses if it's, I should say almost anything can kill viruses if you put enough of it into your body. That's one of the effects of ivermectin. Turns out that if you take enough of it, it will not only kill COVID-19, but also you in the process. In fact, at very high doses, it does show some antiviral effects. The doses and concentrations, however, necessary for this activity are much higher than what are safe for humans and would be toxic to both COVID-19 and human life in general. So that's why it hasn't been proven to effectively treat or prevent COVID-19. You would just have to take so much. It's like drinking bleach. Like, yes, it'll kill the virus, but it'll also kill you, very likely. And so, again, we go back to the best treatment for COVID-19, which is prevention. And that prevention is gained through a vaccine. In fact, CNN medical analyst Dr. Jonathan Reiner said this last week about ivermectin. It doesn't work. I wish it worked. It would be great if it worked. You know, it's an old drug. It's a cheap drug. It would be fantastic if it worked. It doesn't work. We know that. Yes, and here's the thing. If it worked, like the monoclonal antibodies, then we would be ecstatic. Great, one more weapon in our arsenal to defeat COVID-19. Great, we would celebrate. We would celebrate. Now, the reason that we're celebrating the vaccines is, guess what? Because they work. But again, ivermectin doesn't. The major paper touting the benefits is undergoing currently an ethics review for incredibly shoddy practices in gathering their data. Gross representations of the benefits. I've read it. They claimed that 100% the patients were cured, had a very small sample size. The names of people that were in the study that were claimed to be patients were dead people. All of that is super suspect. And not only that, But one of the main studies, and he referenced that doctor, Dr. Pierre Corey, is that, look, in some of the studies that have shown potential promise, use cell cultures in petri dishes. This is in vitro data, right? So now any positive findings have not been replicated in vivo in actual human subjects. So yes, they can take a petri dish and pour a bunch of ivermectin in it, and at a high enough concentration, it'll kill the virus. But human beings are not petri dishes. And if you put too much of anything in us, it'll kill us. That is the problem. Okay, that's the issue. And so now this reminds me of the hydroxychloroquine craze, when the same people were saying pretty much the exact same thing, this time about hydroxychloroquine. And now the new hotness is ivermectin. And the two situations are related because, again, they were looked at two potential treatments and were ended up being dismissed for similar reasons. And you had the same, faulty science on this, the misapplication of in vitro science. Okay. So that said, Dr. Pierre Corey went on to Joe Rogan's show and claimed, no, we got this. No, it's great. But it's not. Look, and Pierre Corey is part of a group called the Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance. That is another group that is like America's Frontline Doctors. Both groups are actually fairly shady and try to present themselves as actual medical professionals, which they are not. According to certain to reports, their members often do not work clinically, meaning they don't actually have credentials to practice medicine in any hospital settings. This is like Rand Paul claiming, oh no, I'm a doctor. You're an ophthalmologist and you're not even practicing. Sit the fuck down. You're not an actual expert on this. You're not actually practicing. You're not a real doctor. Same thing with these people. They don't actually treat COVID-19 patients. All right? And also, funny enough, the founder of the FLCCC, who is currently not affiliated with any healthcare institutions, recently disclosed that he and his family caught COVID. Oops. That's despite taking his ivermectin protocol. So he used it as a prophylactic, and guess what? He still got COVID. And his entire family. As far as the AFLD, well, I've covered that before. There's only one thing to say about that, and that's the demon sperm lady. The woman that Dr. Stella Emanuel, who came out and claimed that, and by the way, this is before pushing hydroxychloroquine and now ivermectin. She had claimed that ovarian cysts were a result of having sex with demons. So yeah, and by the way, the reason that I bring them up because that group is selling ivermectin prescriptions online. That seems to be a bit of a conflict of interest. We think this drug is fantastic, and by the way, we are now selling it. Wait, so you could either buy that, which has no evidence backing it up, that it actually is effective against COVID-19. Sure, if you got a problem with lice, go ahead and take it. But if you've got a problem with COVID, you probably shouldn't. But they're saying, no, we're not only saying you should, but we're selling it as well and telling you not to get the free vaccine. Come on. And look, and here's the other thing. So Joe Rogan comes out and he says, well, look, I got it from a doctor. My doctor prescribed it to me. You realize that there are a lot of telemedicine and private providers that can prescribe and dispense medication. So it's actually not that difficult to find someone out there who is willing to prescribe you a human dose of ivermectin online, if you're willing to pay. Again, in lower doses. Again, it has no effect on COVID-19, but it also generally has limited side effects again, depending on how much you take, right? And so now that's if you're willing to find a provider or that provider online is willing to prescribe it for you, there's that. Now, if you're someone else and you're unaware of all this, then you might actually be one of the ones that are raiding the Tractor Supply and feed stores in order to get your hands on a off-brand, or not really shouldn't say off-brand, but a non-human version of ivermectin, which of course you have to be really, really careful as it's much more concentrated. So, and again, there have been a handful of ivermectin-related calls to poison control hotlines, and of course, you all remember the same thing happened with hydroxychloroquine. So I have one more video here, and Joe Rogan's going to go after the media. Now, originally, I think it was more of like a tongue-in-cheek statement, but he said, well, I'm going to have to sue CNN. I think you're one of those free speech guys. Wouldn't that be antithetical to your beliefs to sue CNN? Whatever. Nonetheless, here's his critique. Take a look.
But what they didn't highlight is that I got better.
Yeah, you got better quickly.
They try to make it seem as if like I'm doing some wacky shit that's completely ineffective. And
Right.
CNN was saying that I'm a distributor of misinformation. You know, there's a lot of speculation. One of the speculations involves the emergency use authorization for the vaccines. That in order for there to be an emergency use authorization, there has to be no treatment for a disease.
Right.
So because there is this treatment in ivermectin, and there's other treatments too.
Right.
Because of this, there's a lot of pushback against potential treatments and pretending that they don't really work or that they're conspiracy theories. This is the grand conspiracy, right? The grand conspiracy is that the pharmaceutical companies are all in cahoots to try to make anybody who takes this stuff look crazy. But what's crazy is look how better I got.
Yeah.
I got better pretty quick, bitch.
All right, so for one, the FDA has fully approved the COVID-19 vaccine for everybody 12 and over. So it's no longer in emergency use. You know why? Because it actually works. So that whole line of reasoning just got blown the fuck out of the water. But on to the other points. So this right there, the entire segment is why he's being called the distributor of disinformation by CNN. You just speculated that there could be this big giant conspiracy by the drug companies that make the vaccines, okay, to then give to people for free in order to suppress the supposed real treatment, which you can get after you're sick, you know, generally. But either way, I guess you can get it before you're sick, but you still have to pay for it. And these companies also, you know, manufacture this as well. and that actually makes them more money when you get sick, because then, you know, the treatment always tends to cost more than the prevention. And when you really kind of look at all this stuff, it just really like falls apart. Like the whole argument, everything he said was a gigantic house of cards that just fell over. There's no sense at all. Look, the bottom line is, once again, ivermectin has no preventative qualities against COVID-19 or treatment. It's not made for that. Simply put, his conspiracy, and that's what this is, it's a conspiracy, makes no sense. And then, of course, follows it up with his own personal anecdote of like, oh, well, I got better, bitch. Well, that's not evidence. That's not evidence. And by the way, there was a part that I cut out, right? And so, you know, people are probably going to get on me for that, but I cut it out for time because this segment's already super long. But he then quotes, allegedly, the Japanese government, right? The Tokyo Medical Association. So he said, well, look, it's the Japanese government. The Japanese, I mean, so, well, they've been promoting the use of ivermectin to all COVID patients, so it must be safe. I mean, what are they doing differently than America? Well, that's not true at all. When you look into the details, yes, the chairman of the Tokyo Medical Association, Haruo Ozaki, did cautiously support using it as treatment. But it should be noted that neither he nor the Tokyo Medical Association are in any way affiliated with the Japanese government. So you could go back to Demon Sperm Lady and make the same argument for her, right? Dr. Stella Emanuel, part of this prestigious group of doctors, they promoted ivermectin. They must be part of the American government, right? The United States government obviously, promotes the use of ivermectin. No, they don't. No, they don't. See, that's the thing. They're in no way affiliated with the Japanese government. And members of the organization can only provide private recommendations. Okay? The official guidelines for doctors from the Japanese Ministry of Health states that compared to standard treatment and placebo, ivermectin did not reduce deaths, shorten hospitalization periods, and improve time of virus disappearance. It doesn't work. So pretty much everything Joe Rogan has said is flat out disinformation. And yet he's mad at CNN. Look, I got my own issues with CNN. I got my issues with corporate media and the pharmaceutical industry. But Joe Rogan is not a doctor. Joe Rogan is a meathead podcaster. He is an entertainer. And look, he's good at entertaining. He ain't so good at informing. All right? And you shouldn't be taking medical advice from him. Unless, of course, it's something to do with like weightlifting or whatever, right? Or MMA. Well, there you go. MMA Diet by Joe Rogan, right? Great. That's your lane. That's your lane. Stay in your lane. But, I think that if he's going to do this, he might as well platform actual real medical professionals that have followed the science in COVID-19. And that's it. And the thing is, what he's doing right now is dangerous. He is hurting people. People will die. And he either thinks that he's doing the right thing, or maybe he doesn't care. I don't know Joe Rogan personally. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe he does care, and maybe he just believes anything that comes across his desk. I don't know. But what I do know is that he is actively doing harm, massive harm. He's got millions of listeners a day, and he's doing real harm against fighting in the fight against this pandemic. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.